Welcome to 10 Piece, the podcast where we talk in detail about 10 minutes of the One Piece live action. This episode is perfect to listen to while eating, so Mahlzeit!
Along the shore our course prevails, listening to the ocean's tales, in search of treasures and dreams, 10 Piece.
Hello fellow pirates! Today's episode begins at the 20-minute mark when Kid Luffy finds the devil fruit and ending on Zoro eating Rika's rice ball. So just from that, you know this episode is really all about eating the devil fruit and wanted posters. So grab something to eat, sit down, relax, and let's get back into it. So Kid Luffy is angry about Shanks, and he finds this treasure chest in the pile of Shanks' treasure. And he remembers, oh, this one is way more worth than all of the other treasures. So he grabs this box, the music playing a glorious sound. And when we stop exactly here, we can see different frames with pictures in the background. But sadly, I can't make out all of them. Some of them are like fishing related, and I could swear in one of them is a moon right above the box. This would be great foreshadowing. And in the close-up, while Luffy's opening the box, we see a marine logo on the box. And it's hinted in the live action, so I call it a minor spoiler. But yeah, Shanks got this from the Marines. And it was a big deal for the Marines to lose a devil fruit. So big that another character in the future will try to get his revenge on Luffy because he was thrown out of the Marines because his ship got raided from Shanks. So this is a funny detail that only manga readers know, but they included it so early in the story. I love this. So he opens up the box and we see the devil fruit for the first time. It has a violet color, shimmering, glittering texture. And this really reminded me of the Dragon Shield sleeves that you can use for your One Piece trading cards. Because one of the colors is called Soul and it has exactly this color with glimmering in it. How fitting. So of course, this is our first devil fruit in the series. So let's talk about what a devil fruit is. So a devil fruit is a magical fruit in the world of One Piece that gives you superpowers, but you permanently lose the ability to swim. So if you're trying to swim in ocean water, you lose all your strength and fall down like a rock in the sea. That's not a good thing for a sailing pirate, but the fun thing is, in the real world, there were many pirates that really did know how to swim. There are 3 categories of devil fruits. Logia, that gives you an elemental power, like fire or ice. Zoan, that gives you the power of an animal or a fictional animal, like a dog, an elephant or a dragon. And there's a 3rd category that has everything else in it, like Luffy's Gum Gum powers. It is said that within the devil fruit there's a soul of a devil, and the devil is always looking for its next user and seemingly get towards him. So it's not only Luffy deciding to eat the fruit, it's also the fruit leading Luffy to itself. Also, we know that if a devil fruit user dies, the soul of the devil is trying to connect to the next fruit available and transform this fruit to the said devil fruit. If 2 people eat the same devil fruit at the same time, the one who gets a millisecond faster in digesting it will get the power, and the other part essentially loses the power. So there can't be 2 with the same powers. Also, it is said that if a devil fruit user tries to eat another devil fruit, the 2 devils will clash in your body and you will explode. And it's also said that if you eat a Gum Gum fruit, it makes you a Gum Gum human. So it's not like Luffy has to activate his powers, he's always like rubber. What I also want to add is, we know that there's a devil fruit book in the One Piece world. And I think that's where all the categories come from. So someone tried to figure out, okay, what does the devil fruits do? What are the upsides, the downsides? How can we categorize them? And came up with these 3 categories. But maybe the categories aren't as clear, because some of the powers may overlap with another category. So I think this is just man-made. The person who made the devil fruit book and thought of them, tried to understand them, made the categories. And also these categories make other people to not think outside of the box. Like if you have a book and read in it, okay, I have the Gum Gum fruit and I only can do Gum Gum things. Would you even believe in it and try it to be something different? So maybe it's just a book for the masses to control their mindset about the devil fruits. But my opinion about the book is just a theory. Also, we don't have any confirmation where the devil fruits come from. We can only assume they come from a tree, like a real fruit. Also, we know there's an Adam and Eve tree in One Piece. So maybe they are connected to it? Because the devil fruits are an obvious take on the creation myth in the book of Genesis in the Bible. Think of it. God creates Adam from dust and places him in the Garden of Eden. Adam is allowed to eat from any tree in the garden except for the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Then God creates Eve from one of Adam's ribs to be his companion, but then a serpent persuades Eve to eat a fruit from the forbidden tree, and she shares it with Adam. This gives them new knowledge, including the awareness of shame and evil, and as a result, God curses the serpent and the ground, and banishing them from the Garden of Eden. So we already have some themes going on with Adam, Eve, good and evil, God and snake that is very present in One Piece. Also, to go back to the scene, we see many swirls over the devil fruit. But we will talk about swirls when we come to Sanji later. Then Luffy is wondering, what is this thing? And he looks very suspicious, tries to smell the fruit, and then immediately goes to, I will eat this thing. He bites in it, and I can also tell you how it tastes. In the series, it's always told that the devil fruit tastes very bad, but in the interview with Colton, he said that they made this devil fruit just for him to eat, so it really was just cake, and the outside violet part tasted like watermelon, and the green inside part tasted like coconut. And he stops for a second while eating it. He's even looking like it tastes bad, and he keeps on eating it. The funny thing is, Luffy eats the whole devil fruit in each iterations, because that eliminates the thought of, okay, if a part of devil fruit is still left, maybe somebody else could eat it and get the power as well. But like I said, it wouldn't work. Then we cut to Shanks and his crew partying in Party's bar, and before Higuma even comes close, we see Yasop and Lakiru playing Mahjong. And I never catched that before. If you don't know, Mahjong is a tile-based game that was developed in the 19th century in China. It is mostly played by 4 players and has a great variety of playing it. The rules are very similar to the Western card game Rummy, and back in the day it was called Sparrow in Chinese because they said the clacking of the tiles during playing resemble the sound of chattering sparrows. Then Higuma the bear enters, and Higuma really means brown bear in Japanese. Also, as a fun fact, Akuma means devil. Higuma is the leader of the Higuma bandits, and he has a bounty of 8 million berries because he killed 56 people, and the 56 is already a reference to Luffy because 56 could be read as Gomu in Japanese, and yeah, his fruit is the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Higuma asks for whiskey, and this is the first time we see Makino. She's the bar owner of Party's Bar in Windmill Village, and she was played by Kathleen Stevens. You might know her from Runs in the Family, Death of a Whistleblower, or My Spy the Eternal City. Then Makino says we don't have anything anymore, and Shanks is very friendly in this situation, says that he is sorry, and offers him the last bottle of rum. This is the point in the podcast where I can ask the important question, why is the rum gone? Also, did you know that real-life pirates drank rum because water on ships would often become stagnant and was unsafe to drink? This is why rum was safer and lasted longer. And then Higuma leans in and says, okay, but what are we supposed to do with one bottle? And this is really funny for fans, because one of the biggest theories what the One Piece is that the One Piece actually some form of alcohol, a drink to celebrate to, like sake. And it would be so funny that Higuma doesn't take the offer of the last rum, while the whole story is about finding one. So yeah guys, why is the rum gone? Then he laughs and shatters the glass, and Shanks casually asks Makino for a mop. Higuma really likes that Shanks cleaning his mess, so he makes more mess and throws everything from the table. And in this camera shot, we see one Mahjong tile in front of the camera placed between Higuma and Shanks. And every tile in Mahjong stands for something. And I looked this up and it's so funny. On the Mahjong tile, it says 80,000. There are number tiles, and this is the 8th one, so this is the 80,000. And the numbers in Mahjong also stands for coins, like a reward. And I think the 8 in that kind of reflects the 8 million berry bounty of Higuma. This is a very fun detail. I don't know if that's intentional. If yes, hey, I found it. Oh, I love those details. After that, Higuma just tries to provoke Shanks even more, but Shanks doesn't mind it and just cleans more. So Higuma doesn't have fun in mocking him anymore and just goes off with his men. Then we see Kid Luffy staring at Shanks with the sun in the background again. Then the whole crew of Shanks laughs and Luffy gets very angry about it. And then you see Luffy walking towards Shanks and you realize, wait, Luffy was only a few meters away from the bar and Shanks and the whole happening with Higuma. Also, you can clearly see in the background that at the same hut where Luffy looks through the treasure chests, there are people sitting and drinking next to it. So imagine you're sitting there a little bit off from the bar, drinking your beer or your rum, and you see this little kid going to treasure chests and randomly open one and eats one. And previously it is said that this is the most expensive one of them all, and they casually let him eat that. Also, I really think Shanks could have seen Luffy from there. It's in direct sight if you look at it. Then Luffy gets loud and angry again and yells at him. He's angry because Higuma insulted him and he didn't do something about it. And then Shanks, the wise man he is, answers with, not everything can be solved with violence. A man needs to be strong, but he also needs to be good. And Shanks reminded me of a phrase from Game of Thrones from George R.R. Martin that has appeared in the books and in the series. And the phrase is, Bran asks his father, can a man still be brave if he's afraid? And his father replies with, that is the only time a man can be brave. I love this quote. And then Luffy says to him he's just a coward, because he still don't understand it. And Shanks replies with, like I said, you aren't ready to sail to the sea with this kind of behavior. So Luffy has enough and tries to angrily walks away. Shanks says, wait! And then he uses his left arm to grab Luffy's arm. The arm stretches, the music gets faster. While both of them are in shock, the others don't really seem to be shocked. Shanks lets go of his arm. The arm snaps back. Luffy falls down some stairs. And then, with the sun in the background and the music building up, Luffy is standing up looking at his arms. Shanks is totally in shock and asks him, what have you done? And then Luffy looks up with the sun in the background. Such a perfect scene. And then we finally cut back to the present time with Luffy and Kobe in a boat. So Luffy tells Kobe that by eating the devil fruit, it made his body rubbery. And then he stretches his cheek like that. And on that note here, yes, Luffy can stretch every part of his body like that. Oda specifically answered questions before about the genitals of some characters. And yeah, Luffy can stretch anything. So now that they are on the open sea and don't have a plan, Kobe begins to panic because it is a long time since he was in a situation like that where he can plan out and do what he wants. And that's very usual for people that don't do what they want. And if they reach the point where they can do whatever they want, they feel lost or useless in the moment. That's why this happens to so many people who are retiring. It's passion, hobbies and dreams that give you a kind of employment and fulfillment in life. You know what I mean? Even if it seems off for someone who just came out of captivity to question his decision to get out, it's not that unusual. That's why the Stockholm Syndrome exists. Because they take all of the passion and dreams out of the victim. So it doesn't feel right for the victim to be alone with their mind and their time. But thankfully, Luffy has a plan. He points out that he wants to go to the Grand Line. And while Kobe is questioning that, Luffy realizes, okay, I think I need a map. And Luffy thinks, looking on the floor of the boat and picking his nose. If you didn't saw that yet, Luffy does this a lot. Even Garp does it in the manga and the anime. And of course, nose picking is like a childish behavior, so it characterizes them a little bit more of the childish side. But also, they don't care what others think. They don't even question their behavior. And yeah, we're on the topic of eating today, but I really wanted to point that out. I looked up how common nose picking is, and it's shocking. The latest study I found says that over 90% of people do this. Mostly in private, of course, because it's the easier way to get out stuff in your nose. And there are many studies about it, if that's good or bad. But hey, it improves your immune system. But you can also get diseases faster. Okay, maybe we should change topics. And while Kobe's still questioning his freedom, Luffy's asking him, Kobe, if you could do anything in the world right now, what would it be? And that is the question I have for you today. If you could change anything or do anything right now, whatever it may be, what would it be? And for this I have to quote one of my favorite songs of all time, Get Some Sleep from Mono Inc. Throughout the song there are many questions, and it all concludes to the line, what would you change if a change was all you need? And the song rephrases that with, a change was all you need. Because every change begins with a question and then a dream towards it. So start asking the right questions, I guess. Why are you in the situation in your life? What would you change? How would you change that? And then just begin with a little change. Sorry, I'm getting way too deep here, but these are the things that I love the most about One Piece. The inspiration and motivation that comes with it. Then Kobe thinks of his dream and says immediately, okay, that's dumb. So Luffy stands up and slaps him. And this seemed a little bit brutal on the spot, but in the other iterations, Luffy did this as well. At the point where Kobe confesses his doubts, Luffy just hits him. He's literally connecting the bad thoughts with pain. So next time Kobe thinks about something stupid like that, he is reminded of that pain from Luffy. You know what I mean? These are life lessons, guys. And Luffy points out that it is dumb to say your dream is dumb. So he's demanding him to finally say his dream. Kobe confesses his dream to be a marine, to save people from bad pirates like Alvida. And Luffy likes that because he just wants to protect people. So Kobe says since he was a kid, he wants to protect people that can protect themselves. Which is basically him 5 minutes ago. And maybe he once was saved by a marine from a pirate, and that's why he has this dream. And Luffy encourages him to go for his dream. And this is what friendship is all about. Sharing food, sharing your dreams, sharing experiences together. And then the next second, Luffy has a complete plan. They will get to a marine base where Kobe can volunteer as a marine and Luffy can get a map. But then Kobe points out that you can't just go into a marine base and get a map. And the phrase of Kobe reminded me of the Lord of the Ring meme. One does not simply walk into Mordor. Or for this occasion, one does not simply walk into a marine base if you're not Luffy. But Luffy assures him that he is stealthy, while you see Alvida's ship in the background exploding. And it's so hilarious. Luffy is not the stealthy one. He directly goes for his goal and leaves a destruction on its way. The camera switching to another scene and we see a hand laying over a boat on the open sea. We see a red-headed girl waking up while a different boat is approaching. She asks for help. She says her crew was attacked by pirates and she was barely managed to make it out. But while the two people on the approaching boat are mocking her, she sees that there's a pirate flag on the boat. Oh no, pirates again. And this is actually Buggy's pirate flag. And these two on the boat are actually two of the tightrope walking Funin brothers, which is a brother trio within the Buggy pirates. They appear in every iteration, and the funny thing is, in the manga and in the anime, they first encounter Nami, get their boat stolen, then they encounter Zoro, they want to steal his swords, but end up paddling for him to the next island, and the third time they are meeting them again, and flee in fear of them. So back to the scene, they are docking the little ship and asking what is in the treasure chest you're having there. The girl with the red hair covers it in fear of them stealing it. So they get on the little boat trying to open the chest. They finally open it and it's empty. They were tricked by the girl who used the time of them opening the chest, hopped on the bigger boat and sailed away. She jokingly thanks them for the rescue and we see her in full. It's of course Nami. Played by Emily Rudd. You may know her from Hunters, The Romanovs, or Fear Street Part 2. She's wearing a different outfit in the scene, and this is actually inspired by a sketch from Oda that he made before One Piece. And you could call this the alpha outfit of Nami, because it was made before Nami, and in the same drawing she had a big axe and a robot arm. So this is one of the nice hints to Oda's amazing drawings. But we will have this even more in the series. Then Nami takes a book out of her bag and opens it to reveal that she has maps in there. On the first double page we see a dolphin, like the one we see in one of the openings of One Piece. We see a temple next to some rocks that is very similar to Jinbei's cover story. Also we see Mount Fuji, not the one in Japan, but the one in Wano. So I think this isn't actually drawn from Nami, or she saw a picture of it somewhere and redrew it. But this is more of a hint for us, for future storylines. Because Wano Kuni comes way later in the story. Then she turns the page and it's an actual map of the place that Shia is in right now. She's looking at the map, staring into the sea. I feel like she got the same look like in the anime when she checks out the weather. You know what I mean? Like on high seas, Nami can immediately feel the weather changing and stuff. And the look of her in this scene really feels like one of these moments. She smiles, looks back to the map, and then we get a shot over the map into a drone shot showing Shellstown, 153rd Marine Branch. You can already spot a Marine flag on one of the ships, and you see the Marine base from far away. And the funny thing is, in the manga and the anime, Captain Morgan let the Marine build a statue of himself that is standing on the highest point in the town. And Luffy later destroys it by accident. So Captain Morgan gets very angry. But in this shot you can actually see the statue. So the statue is canon to the live action as well. And I think it's just a funny Easter egg for us fans. Then we see some Marines marching away from the camera. One of them says, "Hot, hot, hot." And I wondered, why do they say hot while marching? Hot means head in German. That doesn't make any sense. But it turned out it's like a Marine thing. And hot is kind of like the let's go phrase for Marines. So he basically encourages them to march in a rhythm. And then after the Marines move away, we see two pillories standing there. These are the things that you can take your head in and your arms in. They hold you in place. And I always assumed these were for torture. But I read that in 1816 they were used as punishment for perjury or subornation. So I guess these people standing there in the pillory said some bad things about Captain Morgan or the Marines, and this is their punishment for it. Also, if Oda wanted to be in the live action, they would never tell us where we can see him. And this would be a perfect place to sneak him in. So we should look out for those little things, where they obviously show people but don't show their faces. Then we see Kobe and Luffy standing in front of a house. On the house is a big poster of Captain Morgan. Because instead of the statue being visible all the time, they made sure to tell us that Captain Morgan has ego problems with these big pictures of him all around. They are both looking at wanted posters. Now it gets spicy. We first see the wanted poster of Bellamy the Hyena with his debut bounty of 55 million. And all these wanted posters are great additions to the story here, because all of these characters will appear way later, and they are adding more foreshadowing to the story of the East Blue. So Bellamy's first appearance is in chapter 222 or in anime episode 146. That's like 150 chapters and 2 sagas away from the East Blue. Then we see a wanted poster of Foxy the Silver Fox with his bounty of 24 million berries. And many people take him like a joke character and declare his arc a filler arc because he can be very annoying, has a very funny nose, and he first appears in chapter 305 and in episode 207. Then we get the first glance of Buggy the Clown with his 15 million bounty poster, and next to him we actually see the bounty of Django with 9 million berries. But Django doesn't appear in the live action. He's the right hand of Captain Kuro and later becomes a Marine. So maybe this version of Django became a part of the Marine way earlier. But we will talk about this later when Captain Kuro appears. Then the camera turns and we see Luffy and Kobe in close-up. Luffy is very happy about these bounty posters and loves to see so many pirates. Kobe is staring right at Alvida's poster and saying that there are way worse pirates on the Grand Line. And then Luffy is disappointed that his face isn't on the wall, saying to Kobe that he would love to have a wanted poster. And while Luffy is wondering how to get in that base, we see the wanted poster of Alvida in the background with her 5 million berry bounty. And we also see a wanted poster of Cavendish of the White Horse, who should have a bounty of 200 million right now, but we can't see the numbers here. And he originally appears way later in chapter 704 or episode 632, so this is a big hint, because Cavendish is also from the East Blue. And Luffy points out that they can't get in with an empty stomach. So he's leaving the view and the camera turns on Kobe, looking closer and closer at Alvida's bounty poster, wondering if he will ever see her again. And before we leave the scene, I want to point out all these posters around the wanted posters that you can also see on the official website, strawhatgrandfleet.com, and they're reading out stuff like piracy is a crime, we are watching over you, everyone can be a criminal, pirates spread disease, to let the viewer know that propaganda is big in One Piece. And while Koby is turning and looking next to the camera, we are switching to the scene in the bar. We are seeing Ririka, the mother of Rika, bringing rice balls to the table of Luffy and Koby. And Koby says, no, we already have our food. And while Luffy is licking his plate, he's looking at the food and saying, no, more is better. And he says, you gotta feed the brain. And while Luffy is talking about his plans, you can count how many they ate already. Koby has one plate and a bowl in front of him, and he's still eating out of the bowl. And Luffy has 6 bowls, 5 plates, and now the new rice balls. So he ate plenty more food. Then Luffy brings up the idea to fly into the base by grabbing onto a bird. And this is a funny reference to the manga and anime, where Luffy, while being on the sea with Zoro, seeing a bird in the air and wants to grab it because it looks tasty, and ending up being grabbed by the bird and dragged away. So Zoro has to sail after him and search for him. So yeah, that sounds like a Luffy plan to me. But Koby says this is a terrible idea and he should keep his voice down. While he's saying that, Roronoa enters the bar, and you already can see Helmeppo in the background. Zoro has Mr. 3.5 in a bag and drags him to the bar. And you see at the entrance of the bar it actually says Food Fu. Like the bar in the manga and the anime, where Luffy and Koby talking about his plans, meeting Rika. Zoro puts Mr. 3.5 on a stool and says he wants a bottle for him and his friend because he had a rough day. And you're already seeing Nami in the background here. So she's in the same bar. And while the camera is switching angles, we actually see Kabaji from Buggy's crew next to Zoro. He stands at the bar in front of a bottle with a blue liquor in it, and both of it is a hint at what comes next in the next 2 episodes. Kabaji is leaving the bar, Zoro is getting his beer, leans at the bar and sees a little girl staring and smiling at him. This is Rika. She giggles and runs away. Then we get a shot of Nami. A marine is trying to approach her and ask if he can buy her a drink. She looks down on him and says, "No, you're too tall." He's confused while another marine is passing them. She looks at the second marine, smiles and goes after him. Then she leans on the bar next to him and asks him if he likes rum. And of course, everybody in this room most likely loves rum. And he says, yeah, sure, as much as the next guy. And she's saying, well, I'm not asking the next guy. And we already know she approached him because he's the perfect size to rob him of his clothes. So he's such a poor guy. Also, in the background of the scene, you can see Zoro talking to someone. So I guess he's talked to Rika, because in the next scene, we see Rika approaching Zoro with 2 rice balls. And Zoro asks, "What's this?" And she answers with, "Rice balls, for you." And Zoro asks, "Did you make that yourself? What's the brown thing?" And she says, "Well, that's chocolate. That makes everything taste better, right?" And while Helmeppo approaches the bar, you hear Ririka, her mother, calls for her daughter. So she turns and runs right into Helmeppo. The plate falls and shatters, and while Helmeppo says "stupid girl" to her, we see him fully in close-up. And Helmeppo is played by Aidan Scott, who you might know from The Kissing Booth 2, The Fix, Lily's Not For Me, or Action Point. And I was kinda confused because you can clearly hear something shattering when the plate is falling down. But I could be wrong here. Because in the next camera angle we see the plate fully intact with the 2 rice balls laying next to it on the ground and Helmeppo purposely stepping into one and destroying it. Rika is visibly sad about this and Helmeppo is mocking her even more, saying to her she should watch where she is going, while her mother says she should apologize and she stutters, I'm sorry. And Helmeppo just mocking her and repeat her words, saying next time he won't be so nice. Then Zoro steps in, saying, "You dropped my food." Getting on his knees, take a part of one of the rice balls, taking it into his mouth, even chewing on it, while Helmeppo looks disgusted. And Zoro says, delicious, to Rika. And that's where our episode ends. Whew, guys, that was a big one. I really love to get more into detail each episode, and I kind of feel that this format improves over time. So let me know in the comments, what did you eat while watching this episode, or did you do anything else? Oh, also I have to explain what Mahlzeit means, right? Mahlzeit basically means have a good meal in one word in German, but you can also say it to greet someone at your work or something. Because you usually meet the others in your workplace during lunch, so it's appropriate to say to them Mahlzeit, even if you just see them. So thank you guys for listening. Next up we have an episode all about Zoro. We see us in 10 days. Let's set sail.